What up, everybody? At the beginning of BMF Season 4, Episode 6, Charles started out the show already depressed, mainly because the fact his hand is broken and he can't go on tour with the Campbell brothers, but also because his hand is broken and he can't do much of anything like work or even open up his prescription bottle. And according to Lucille, Charles wasn't even able to get workman's comp immediately, and that was going to take some time. Then later in the episode of B. Mickey's wedding, we see Charles talking to B. Mickey, dressed for the wedding with his suit and tie on, but his undershirt isn't buttoned all the way up, and his tie isn't on properly either, like he did the best he could, but didn't want to ask anybody for help, button up his shirt, or getting his tie on the right way. And to make things even worse for Charles at B. Mickey's wedding, to add insult to injury, Charles had to sit on the sidelines and watch Lucille get the spotlight, singing for B. Mickey and Aisha at their wedding. To where even Terry was impressed and mentioned to Charles that it was funny that when he gets out the music industry, Lucille gets in. While Lucille's first scene in episode 6 was her talking to her cousin Estelle at their house when the phone rang, and Estelle tried to pick up the phone, but Lucille immediately hung up the phone, letting her know that it was bill collectors calling. Then Estelle saw the old Sears credit card bill from season 2 that Lucille put in Nicole's name. And when Estelle confronted Lucille about putting a credit card in Nicole's name, Lucille responded by letting her know that divorce isn't cheap. Keep it in mind, she ran that credit card up before they got divorced. Not to mention, she ran that credit up in Nicole's name and it's past due. So before Nicole gets a chance to really do anything with her life, her credit's already going to be destroyed because of Lucille. Then Lucille went on to complain to Estelle about Charles getting himself hurt and not bringing in any money, and the fact that she can't even claim Charles as a dependent because of the divorce, when Estelle told Lucille that she needs to go ahead and file for welfare. But Lucille knew the conditions of welfare, that Charles couldn't be living in the house with her, but went ahead and filed for the welfare anyway, knowing that the only way she would get the welfare was by lying. But when she was at the welfare office, it was revealed that Lucille makes $4.50 an hour at Wendy's, plus whatever offerings she gets from her church. And a lot of people have had questions about why Charles and Lucille still struggling when Meech paid off the mortgage in season 1. That's because Charles just started going back to work, and now he's hurt, and Lucille's only bringing in maybe $600 or $700 a month after taxes. And they still have to pay all their other bills like the lights, water, insurance, food, that credit card bill, and whatever other bills they have. But at the welfare office, Lucille didn't lie about Charles living with her and got denied. And the woman from the welfare office acted like Lucille was definitely supposed to lie about Charles not living with her so she could get the welfare. So Lucille gets denied the welfare because she refused to lie because of her religious beliefs, even though we've seen her lie multiple times throughout the series. And because the fact that Lucille was denied welfare and is stressed, trying to figure out she's going to take care of all the bills without any kind of help, in addition to Nicole being pregnant, she took her frustration out on Charles, telling Charles that he's the problem, cussing him out, and telling him if he really wants to help to just leave so she can get her welfare. And Lucille, being a religious woman and all, I'd ask her what would be the greater sin, lying to the welfare office or talking to Charles like a dog and cussing him out. Because Charles was trying to be positive, telling Lucille that they're going to figure things out like they always have. But on the other side, I also respect Lucille telling Charles that he needs to leave because of the fact that they've been divorced. He's already left the house to go on tour for a season, and a lot of people would say that he should have been left anyway. So I do understand Lucille's perspective also, even though she could have been a little nicer about the way she told him. And then there's also the fact that Meech and Terry, their sons, have more money than they know what to do with. But again, Lucille won't ask them for any money because of religious reasons, when all they have to do would ask Meech or Terry for money just to pay off the debt one time so they can get out the red. But other than being in the red with the bills, the other reason Lucille snapped on Charles is because she's also stressed out about Nicole getting pregnant and stressing out about not wanting to raise another child. keeping in mind that Lucille already slipped up a little in season 3 and admitted she regretted having kids at such a young age and not getting a chance to live life a little bit more. But at the same time, Nicole's baby might be the answer to Lucille's prayers and her way to get welfare. And after B. Mickey's wedding at the reception, after Lucille saw Breeze touching Nicole's stomach, she talked to Nicole crazy also, just like she talked to Charles crazy when Terry overheard the conversation and asked Nicole if it was Worm's baby, only for Charles and Lucille to find out that Nicole doesn't even know who the baby's father is. Saying that Breeze is the father, but most of us believe that Worm is the father, and so does Terry, because after finding this out, Terry threatened Worm, putting his face next to the stove in the kitchen at Terry's restaurant, letting him know if Nicole's baby is his, he's going to do right by her, marriage, white picket fence, and everything. And with that said, I also wonder if part of the reason why Nicole is saying that Breeze is the father is because of how Terry reacted when he caught Nicole with Worm the first time. And all this led up to the end of the episode when Charles's depression went to a very dark place, and Charles no longer wanted to live, feeling like he's failed as a father, a husband, a provider, and as a man in general. Asking Lucille if she ever loved him, or did she just marry him out of convenience? Lucille tried to apologize to Charles, and Nicole and Terry even came in, trying to calm him down, with Nicole letting Charles know that she needs him and her new baby's gonna need him also. But Charles replied that he doesn't want to live no more, only to find out that Charles still has the gun that he took from Meech and Terry's room in season 1, the gun they ultimately put Meech out for having that was actually Terry's gun. So Terry spent the night watching over Charles to make sure he didn't take his own life. And as far as I know, they never said if Charles gave Terry back the gun or not. I don't think he did, and that's part of the reason why Terry stayed the night watching over Charles. Leaving the question, what's next for Charles? Like I said, right now, Lucille and Charles aren't taking money from Meech and Terry because of their religious beliefs. But with that said, in season 3, Charles did take money from Terry to do construction work at his restaurant when Charles was fined for his marriage, competing against Dr. Maurice. And because of the fact that Charles has hit rock bottom now, I think he's going to swallow his pride and go to work for either Meech or Terry. Not in the drug business, but doing legit work for them in some type of way. I think most likely Terry could start a construction company or something like that and let Charles be the boss of that particular company. Similar to in season 2 when Terry bought the car company. But at the same time, now that Duffy's in prison and won't be getting out because of the murder charges, Meech needs a new producer to run his studio in Atlanta. So that could be another way for Charles to get back into the music, either though I don't know if the atmosphere with the drinking and smoking weed would work for Charles though. So I think it's most likely that Terry will give Charles a job, having Charles do construction work for him like we saw them starting to do in season 3. Because from what I've been told, in real life, Charles did at one point move to LA with Terry to do construction work for him. In real life, Charles was also indicted as part of the RICO case with Meech and Terry on money laundering charges because of the house he put in his name for Meech in 1990. The house we saw him put in his name for Meech in season 3. So for the show purposes and entertainment, we could possibly see Charles and Terry starting a company potentially launder money through for the drug business, and this could ultimately get Charles caught up in the RICO case at some point in the timeline as well. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.